All
Sounds
right.
like we're
Well,
good.
yeah, we are going to kick things off. Welcome, everyone, to Winter Career Quest. And today's session, which is personal branding with Rocket Companies. And before I hand it over to Eric, I did want to go over just a few housekeeping items. As I mentioned, we are recording this session. You will be able to get that recording if you want to go back and review any of the concepts that are covered today. And you can do that and view that on our YouTube channel at WGU Career Services. At the end of the session, I am going to post a little link in the chat, a survey. It's 2 questions, really hoping you guys can give our team, so the WGU team, some feedback and just help us plan future sessions. So we definitely want to hear from you. I'll include that link in a follow-up email as well. Today's session, just kind of a reminder, please be sure to stay muted unless you are contributing or want to contribute. It just helps with some of the noise reduction and all of that weird things that sometimes happen on these video calls. And we appreciate that. So I think that's all that I have. Eric, I'm going to hand it over to you and you get us going.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. I'm going to put something in the chat really quick right now for those individuals who may have just joined. It is a tracking profile link for our organization. It's a way for us to kind of see who had joined us today, kind of talk about some of the opportunities and things like that you may be interested in. There's some contact, and it's going to ask you 4 or 5 different questions there. If you haven't already, please click on that link that I put into the chat, and then that will actually get that survey or that profile piece started for you. It'll be definitely a cool way for you to stay up to date as far as what Rocket has to offer, full-time internship and otherwise, any breaking news that we may have. And then today we're going to talk a little bit about personal brand. So I'll give everybody a few minutes that hasn't already had a chance to fill out the link, a chance to do so. While you're doing that, I know that I'm a different presenter, and I'm going to say it up front. For those of you, some of you may have heard me present, some of you may have heard other individuals from our organization present. I'm a little bit different presenter, so I want to make sure that you guys are all aware and understand that I might ask some questions. I like a little bit of feedback, right? So we will be utilizing the chat. For those of you that are brave souls out there that feel like coming off mute and answering a few questions, we'll definitely do that too as well. As we jump into this thing today, we're going to be talking about personal brand. But before we kind of get this thing set up and jump into your personal brand, we're going to talk about the journey and the personal brand and the brand of Rocket Companies, right? First off, I'm Eric Jones. Been here for a very, very long time. I'm a senior talent relationship manager with Rocket Companies. In a nutshell, my main focus and goal and role within Rocket is to go out into the public, speak to universities, speak in the community, and talk about really what Rocket is as an organization, our services, and then also leading people to an opportunity where they can kind of come in, grow with the organization, lay a foundation, and really take off with their career. I've had the pleasure of being a part of this thing for 18 years, 18 seasons, as we call it, right? So it's a really, really, really long time. So I've got a chance to see different name changes, logo changes, restages, all these cool things, and seeing our organization really, really, really grow, right? So as we dive into this, I'm going to start first with a little bit of a video. This video is so ironic that I'm playing this to you today. Tomorrow, I'm going to a very, very similar event, all company meeting in Detroit, Michigan, where our technically, if we were to have a headquarters, where our headquarters would be. And it's going to be talking about our vision and where we're going, celebrating 2024 and talking about where we're going and the path we're blazing for 2025, right? So as we jump into this, please use the chat. I'm going to do my best to look on both screens to see any information or anybody has any questions. But let's start off with this video.
The next era of Rocket is here.
I know you were expecting Taylor Swift, but it's me, Dan Gilbert.
So what do you think, Darren? Is it time to get this show on the road?
I think it's about time. Today, each of you will hear more about our current mission, which will be unlike any that has come before.
The mission was truly clear: help everyone home.
Now we're able to spend family time in a living room, have dinner in a dining room. From the bottom of my heart, thank you.
We will boost all of our team members with AI.
Are you ready?
Let's check it out.
And today's about shared alignment. It's about us taking that step together.
The who is the heart of this entire rocket.
Just another day in the office.
So I love showing that video because it kind of shows and talks about where we've been and who we are and kind of some of the vision that we had for 2024. And as you can see, we were really starting to dive into this AI and technology from one of the examples there that you saw. As you see the two gentlemen on the screen here, the gentleman with the glasses, kind of salt and pepper hair, that's Dan Gilbert. That's our chairman. That's our chairman and founder. He's the one that created this whole rocket ecosystem that we're all a part of. And then the gentleman sitting, as we look to the screen to the right of him, is Varun Krishna. He's actually our acting and active CEO. He's out there trying to blaze and change the way that we're doing things and really trying to get us to this fintech expertise that we talk about when we're talking about our products and services that we're able to provide for our clients. As you can see here, this is just a little bit about us and who we are as an organization, right? So we have 3 main locations. Now we have a couple remote-based locations. We have a Detroit, downtown Detroit, Michigan location. That's the office that I actually work out of as well. There's an office that we have in Cleveland, Ohio. We have another physical location out in Phoenix, Arizona. And then our last one is right across the water there in Detroit. And it's actually in Windsor. And it's called Rocket Innovation Studios. You can only guess what some of those opportunities are that we present and we talk about. But this is the brand of Rocket, right? As you can see, it's bold, it's fun, it's interactive. It's really kind of trying to be cutting edge in the field that we call home, which is that fintech space, right? Now, when you think about the organization, you hear Rocket Companies, you start to think like, okay, what is Rocket Companies and what does this mean? If I were to say Rocket Companies to you without knowing the organization, or if you actually do, please put in the chat or feel free to come off mute and tell me the first thing that kind of comes to mind when you think of Rocket Companies. Explosive. Appreciate that, Brad. Anyone else? Innovative. We try to be another innovative. Thank you, Addison. Absolutely. Futuristic. Love it. Accessible. Love that as well. Everything that you guys are putting in the chat as I'm scrolling through here and looking at some of these statements is true. This is what we're trying to be for you, the consumer that are out there. I thought you guys were going to put like some of the companies, right? So most people, especially when I go out and I present and talk about Rocket Companies, everybody's like, oh yeah, Rocket Mortgage. The cool thing is, right, that's one of the organizations that you see here on the screen, right? So when you think about Rocket Companies, that name is really just an umbrella name, right? And I'm going to use an example, right? So there's an organization that we all have heard of. We've all used it. It's called Google. Google's umbrella name is actually called Alphabet, right? And Alphabet owns a bunch of different organizations. So now when you think about that name of Rocket Companies, here are those organizations that fall into that brand, right? So we're in home financing, home sale and search, auto and personal financing, right? Media, and then a little bit more of that client service and technology-based solutions. So you say, okay, Rocket, and I hear Rocket and I think financing, I'm thinking about Rocket Mortgage, right? That's probably the brand name that you probably hear most often, right? That's probably the name that you hear when it comes to mortgages. I need a home. You see a lot of commercials. I'm going to leak a little something for you sports fans that are out there. February 9th, it's a Sunday. It's just big game in the United States, right? It's the Super Bowl. And Rocket is actually going to have a commercial that's going to be playing. I'd love to get some feedback about it afterwards, right? So keep that in mind. And if you can't remember, don't try to step away for all the commercials, right? And then we're also in that home sale. So you think Rocket Homes, right? The real estate arm of our business. Auto and personal financing. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about one of these organizations, which is actually called Rocket Money. Rocket Money is our budgeting platform. If I were to redesign this entire slide, I would probably put Rocket Money smack dab right in the middle of the screen, and then put all these other organizations that coincide with Rocket Money around it. Rocket Money is that budgeting app that I'm sure you see the commercials and talking about subscriptions and canceling subscriptions and all those type of things, but it will do exactly that, and then also help budget your money. It will tell you where you're spending money, where you should stop spending money, how to save money. It'll send you a credit report, all those fantastic things. And all of those things that I just mentioned, those actions, correspond to one of the organizations that you see here on the screen, right? And this is that Rocket-based ecosystem that you see. So fast forward, you think about a brand, right? You think about that horseshoe or that halo that you see, that Rocket O that's there, right? That's starting to become our brand. Think about some other brands that might have those distinct logos that you don't even have to know what the name is, as long as you understand what that logo means. Okay. So opportunity wise, let's say you apply to a position with us. You're applying to more than just one organization, right? As you can see, it may tell you you're applying to Rocket Mortgage, but that recruiter that you speak with, their responsibility is to put you in the best home, and to put you in a home where you can learn, where you can kind of come in and show your skill set, and then give you a chance for that further growth within your career, right? So what I'm going to do before I move a little bit forward, I'm going to pause to see if there's any questions in the chat or if anybody would like to come off mute. Good thing I see some people that use Rocket Money in the chat already. Phenomenal. I do as well. Perfect. I don't see anything, so I'm going to keep moving forward. So as we look at, there is a question. Just surprised. That's a great comment that you said there, Simon. As far as when you think about the different arms of our business, the arms that you see here all fall underneath Rocket companies. The gentleman I was talking about earlier, Dan Gilbert, owns a bunch of other things, right? So you think about, for you sports enthusiasts out there, we actually own the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? We own the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. So everything that happens out of the stadium there in Cleveland, there's a hockey team. There is an arena football team, obviously the Cavaliers. That is all underneath that Rocket umbrella that falls underneath Dan's portfolio. We also own another organization called StockX, which is the buying and trading and authenticating of merchandise, right? When you go pump a gas, depending on where you guys are as far as geographic wise, some gas stations have that little television that comes on. That's called gas station TV. That's us too as well. So we're really in a lot of different industries. But when you're thinking about Rocket companies as a whole, it's these 11 organizations that you see here on the screen. Great question. I think we may have a few more messages, I think. Perfect. So as we continue to move forward here, right? Let's look a little bit at the thing that keeps us all together, that keeps all those organizations that we just covered together. And this is our philosophies. And I think you heard it in the video. People were talking about helping everyone home. That's that mission statement, right? But think about it. If you're not ready for a home or that home ownership, home could be a moving target for you. It could be graduating. It could be finding an opportunity. It could be home ownership. It could be doing the things that get you to that place of home ownership if it's not already there, right? And all those organizations function off of these key core philosophies, right? As you see here on the screen, and I'm not going to go through all of them. They're very, very simple. They're philosophies you can use not only in your professional life, but as well in your personal life. I have two favorites that I got to cover, and they kind of go together. The first one is at the very, very top, third in, left from right, called We'll Figure It Out. I feel like I live in that one every single day, right? And the cool thing with We'll Figure It Out helps my anxiety, my nervous system, right? Saying that I don't have to have all the answers all the time. I can be resourceful. I can figure things out. If I sit, give the energy to that specific thing I'm trying to accomplish, I can accomplish anything. And that's what that one thing means to me. Then if you go straight down at the very bottom in that same row, you see a person, looks like they have headphones on with arrows, right? And it says, ignore the noise, right? In my opinion, ignore the noise is that internal voice, the voice that talks to you and it's probably the loudest the most times. That's kind of like the, well, should we do this? Or maybe we should do that. No, don't go there. You should probably do this. Sometimes for myself, I have to turn that voice way down low because it'll put me in a paralysis mode where I can't move and I can't think and I can't get past a certain level that I'm trying to get to in order to accomplish my goal. So ignore the noise for me sometimes means, hey, trust your process. Understand that you're going to be adding and tweaking and changing things as you get closer and closer to that goal. And ignoring the noise is an important one for myself. Right? Is there any of these isms that you see or philosophies? And I'll give you a few seconds here in the chat to put in and say, hey, Eric, what does this one mean? Or what do you think some of these mean? Let's go with that route too as well. I'll give you a few seconds. The inches we need are everywhere around us. That's a great one. For myself and for our organization, very simple. It means be resourceful. Get to know the surroundings that you're a part of. If you're part of a student org, if you're part of a professional group, get to know those individuals because at some point you may have something to offer to the group or an individual within that group, and they may have something to offer you. But if you don't take the time to understand and see your surroundings, right, you'll never know that those resources that can help you accomplish things are there. Simplicity is genius, right? Keep things simple, right? We fall into a lot of complex things in the world that we live in, right? I think the most accelerating organizations, individuals that accelerate, they keep things extremely simple, right? I'll use myself for an example. I have an iPhone. I like it because there's only a few apps. I don't add a whole lot to it. It's clean, it's simple. I scroll maybe one time to get one more app that I have, and everything is in its spot. It's super easy to use and it's super consumer friendly for myself, right? So for me in that example, simplicity is extremely genius. It makes me seem a little bit smarter and I can move a little bit quicker than maybe I could on another type of a device, right? But for myself, that explains simplicity is genius, right? We eat our own dog food. Got to cover that one, right? So how many of you really think that we eat our own dog food? I'm just kidding. We really don't do that, right? What that ultimately means is we will never ask a consumer or a partner or anyone that we're interacting with as an organization to do something that we haven't already tried or we haven't already tried to vet out, right? If you want to look at it and hear an example, think about Rocket Money. When we initially acquired Rocket Money, we changed the name, right? They were called Truebill. We changed the name to fit that rocket-based product scheme and ecosystem that we already created. Every single person within our organization had premium access to that, right? Obviously, there was a deadline put on it, but you had the advantage to take the inches and use the things that are around you, right? The resources, and eat our own dog food and use that specific app. That way, you got a bunch of eyes a part of this thing before we launch this new brand out for consumers to use, right? And that's really a great example of eating our own dog food. Food is food. I love that. So as we keep going, right? And thank everybody that jumped in the chat, right? Some of the things that we talk about, and I know that we're focusing on the brand of this organization right now, but we're about to transition into your more personal brand. But this is going to tell the story. I'm not going to read all of these accolades to you, but you can see them in a quick snapshot, just even by looking at the pictures. People's Magazine, Best Places to Work, People That Care, Fortune Magazine, Best Organization for Women, for Millennials, organization overall, Best 100 organizations that's out there. I will honestly tell you, the accolades are fantastic. And as an organization, we love them. We always want to be able to accomplish those. But those are really the ante to play, right? In order to reach the goals and be recognized by your peers and by these groups that you see here on the screen, you have to have the right individuals sitting in the seats, right? Which means all of you. For individuals that are looking to come into the organization, you have to bring a certain brand with you, right? So I think that's a perfect transition as we jump into personal branding here. Now, as we dive into this, you're going to notice there's nothing in this particular presentation that you haven't heard. It's pretty it's pretty really easy of the information I'm going to go through. But I want you to think about yourself as this brand, right? And what your brand represents. So I'll pose the first question. Why is your brand important? And I'll wait to check the chat and see what some individuals have to say before we dive in and kind of dive into it a little bit here. Why is your personal brand important? It represents your values. Yeah. It can make or break the business. You're exactly right. You also think about like that first impression mentality, right? First impressions are everything, especially for individuals that may not know you. So people can connect with you, showcases your values. Yeah. Everyone that's chiming in the chat, thank you so much. You're all exactly right. That's your brand, right? So when you think about your personal brand, let's dive in. I'm going to show some iconic logos. I know we talked about that here a few minutes ago. The first one is like this O and it's some scribble writing. And then it looks like the second one is a person just kind of jumping, looks like a ball maybe. And then the third one is a half-eaten fruit. Can anybody tell me what that first one is with the O and some scribbly writing, what that particularly is? And I'll wait to see if anybody knows what it is in the chat. I see Oprah. Okay, yeah. So when you think about that, and for those of you that wrote Oprah, I appreciate you. You're exactly right, right? So Oprah Winfrey, right? She's recognizable based off of her signature, which is interesting, right? Which is actually also the logo for her brand, her television station that she has, depending on what type of cable, if you stream or those type of things. But I always know Oprah as, the holidays. You get a car, you get a car, you get a car. Everybody gets a car, right? The most fantastic holiday gift giving I've ever seen, right? So let's think about the middle one. And I think Simon may have already said it. He put MJ. Who's MJ? Michael Jordan. You're exactly right. Michael Jordan. And then the third one, it looks like maybe a half-eaten piece of fruit. What do you guys think that one is? Steve Jobs. You got it, right? Apple, right? So when you think about these three logos and you think about these three iconic individuals, we know them just simply by their logo, which is awesome. Think about the brand of each one of these individuals, right? So you have a TV host slash this almost, I don't say virtual, but it's kind of like a television host, a movie actress. You have an athlete, a brand ambassador, and then you have this person that created and changed really technology as we even think about it, right? Created this thing where you can talk to people, you can listen to music and do it all, one-stop shop. Right? So you think about the brand of these individuals and you think about how it may actually impact you. So now let's dig a little bit further at the brands that we all have and kind of what those things mean, right? So a question I want everybody to pose is, what is your personal brand? Okay. And when we jump into this, and before we talk about and what your personal brand actually is and what it is now and all those type of things, when you think about your brand, Your brand is not exactly what you wear on the front. So for those of you that can see me and see me on camera, I have a shirt on, right? It talks about Rocket Mortgage Classic, right? A sporting event that we hold in the city of Detroit, Michigan. That is one of the brands. So on the front, I'm representing our organization. From the PowerPoint that you see, we're representing our organization. Guess what though? The name on the back, I'm representing myself, right? And the brand that I carry with that, right? If I would have got on the call today, scruffy, looking half tired, looking like I really didn't want to be here, instantly, for everybody that doesn't know me, your brand would be like, man, who is this guy and why was he presenting to us today, right? So as we dive in and look at what is your personal brand, let's look, right? So what is your brand now, right? Think about what your brand is right this very second. I don't need anybody to put anything in the chat, but I just want to stir the conversation and get you to start to think a little bit about it, right? Is the message that you're presenting every single day to your friends, to your peers, to your coworkers, to individuals that you're interacting with, is that the brand that you want to put out there, right? What makes people think about you, right? When I think about brand, I want people to think about me for loyalty, for being an expert, for being a fantastic father, a fantastic son, a fantastic loved one. Those are the type of things, right? I actually carry my brand in my wallet, right? I have it laminated. And I'll give you a quick example of your brand and kind of what and how your brand continuously to move as you grow in your career and you grow just within years, right? If you fast forward 18 years ago when I started with this organization, my brand was about me, right? I didn't have a son, wasn't married, any of those type of things. So I was about what can I do and how quickly can I move up, right? So it was like, how much money can I make? All those type of things. You find yourself in a relationship. I got married, I had a son. My brand totally changed. But the eye on the prize still was to be the best, be the expert, be loyal, be a person that was a go-getter, be a person that was resourceful, be an individual that would try to figure things out, and to also set a fantastic role model for my family, as well as especially for my son, right? So that's a snapshot of like the brand and how it changes through time. Now you fast forward, now I answer the question myself, what is the brand now? My brand now is I'm an educator, I'm a teacher, right? I'm an individual that I hope I can say something that inspires an individual. I'm still a father. I'm still a loved one, a spouse, right? I'm still a son. I'm still those other things, but I'm adding these components to my brand. And they're all they keep me focused on a day-to-day basis, right? An easy way to think about your brand before we jump to the next slide is your why, right? Your why, the reason why you do the things that you do, okay? So before we dive into building a brand, are there any questions just based around where we've been so far, right? We talked about the organization, talked about the isms, talked about the company and those type of things and the culture. Now we're starting to pivot and talk about how we were able to achieve those accolades that you saw on the PowerPoint earlier. Any questions so far? I'll give it a few minutes here. Perfect. I'll take that silence as like you're on a roll. So, what is your why? Does anybody want to maybe put in the chat quickly, and I can paraphrase, right? What it means to have a why, and do you have a why? Let's start with that one. Do you have a why? Let's put yes if you do, no if you don't. There is no right or wrong answer to this. Just want to make sure everybody knows. Yes, fantastic. Thank you, Brad. What is your purpose? You're exactly right. It is changing. Yeah. I'll wait a few more seconds for anybody else who wants to put some things in the chat. Yes, thank you very much, Melinda. So that is exactly, and I'm glad that one came through at the very end there, the ones at least I can see for right now. Melinda, thank you for putting that in. It motivates you. So think about your why is that it's the end goal, right? It's the thing that kind of keeps you focused on the day to day, right? When you're not having a great day, when you're not having a great week, right? It's your why should help guide you back to the goals and things that you're still trying to accomplish. The cool thing is we all deal with a commonality, right? Yes, we drink water. Yes, we need oxygen to live. Yes, we're all human organisms, right? But the cool thing is we all have 24 hours in our day, right? And I'll repeat that. We all have 24 hours in our day. That basically means you and each one of us on this call today will utilize those 24 hours differently in a day-to-day span. Some may use 20, right, and sleep 4. Some may flip it opposite, up 4 hours and sleep 20, right? And that changes on a day-to-day. That's the cool thing about having those 24 hours and doing your best to stay consistent and keep going towards your why is when those 24 hours or period is over, you hit the reset button. Tomorrow's a brand new day. The goal is to learn from the mistakes that you made yesterday and grow on the accomplishments that you had from yesterday as well, right? So it works twofold. And that's the first important piece in building your brand. Understand who you are, and your purpose. Step 2, create the brand. How do you think you create a brand? I'll let you guys put some things in the chat. How do you think you create a brand? Spot on, Addison. Your behaviors and how you show up. Examine your values. Yeah. What are you good at? You got it, Mike. Thank you, Natalie. Developing your own mission statement, essentially. Yeah. Write up your personality. You got it, Austin. That's how you build the brand. I'm going to tell you another way you can build that brand, though, right? Your brand are the actions that you take on a day-to-day with the situations that you deal with on a day-to-day, right? Let's say you get up in the morning and you're like, I'm running behind. Oh man, I forgot to get gas yesterday. Some individuals be like, hey, I'm in a bad mindset already. I don't have time for this. I'm late. That brand now that you have is a little bit more maybe on edge, right? Maybe for some, a little bit nervous or an anxiety, right? Because you're a task-oriented individual and you like to stay on task, right? So make sure that when you're creating the brand, you're understanding yourself. And I think the piece that I'm going to continue to go back to is that first step. If you understand the why, it puts things into perspective for you, right? So your why is designed to help you get through those rainy days, right? And then the actions that you take are how you create the brand. Let's jump to the third step here. How do you showcase the brand, do you think? How do you showcase the brand? Where can you go to showcase the brand? Social media, you got it. Jinx there is again as well for Simon and Brad, right? Mike, LinkedIn, you got it. The professional social media, as they say, right? You guys are, all three of you guys so far that I see are spot on with this. Social media, right? So I hope that everybody has a LinkedIn that's on the call. If not, you're working on getting your LinkedIn ready to go live, right? So when you think about LinkedIn and building a brand where you can get people to give you to write testimonials about you, right? That will like and show and put that, hey, yes, they'll vouch for you. That's a fantastic place to start, right? LinkedIn is an awesome place to start. It's almost set up like a resume if you think about it, right? It goes in chronological order. It gives you an opportunity to really showcase some skills and things that you're interested in, right? What if I told you all social media showcase your brand? Social media in the whole is not the only place where you showcase your brand, right? Remember, 2 and 3 are very, very connected. The actions, anywhere you go, is going to showcase the brand, right? And your specific brand. So when you think about LinkedIn, I'm going to ask and pose a question, everyone. Has anyone ever, or you know anybody, who maybe has posted that they're looking for an internship or full-time opportunity, or they're looking for a review on a movie or a product you're going to buy, whatever the case, on Instagram, Or for those that still use it, Facebook or your Pinterest or anything like that that's out there. YouTube, right? Has anybody ever done that? Has anybody ever showcased their skill set on social media outside of LinkedIn? Brad, thank you. So absolutely. Yeah. Melinda, yes. Natalie, no. That's okay. Reddit, yep, absolutely. I love that I see there's a nice little mix there. There's someone threw Reddit in there, a different form, right? GitHub is another one. Fantastic, right? Natalie, I'm going to come back to you. I'm not picking on you. I love that you put no in the chat though. I'm going to ask you, why not? Right? And here's what I mean by that. We all have some type of following, right? Your social footprint is very strong, especially if you have a social media, right? Or your footprint just in general, right? That brand that carries and goes with you. You're trying to showcase your brand. In my opinion, if I were looking for an internship, especially now, right? A lot of people are looking, there's universities all over the country, there's people all over the country switching jobs and careers and doing different things. To look for an opportunity as a full-time job, right? So if you're on social media, why wouldn't you just put, hey, just in case anybody may be looking for a fantastic employee, team member, someone to assist them in something, I'm looking for an internship in ABC categories. If you have any leads, please direct message me. You would be surprised how many people or how many messages that you're going to get just from putting that message in there. And the cool thing is because people love to help people, right? That's just the realism of it is, right? There's some people out there that don't, right? We all know those individuals. But for the majority, think about it like almost like a LinkedIn mentality, right? Most social media, if you said something like that, one, it's different because everyone's not doing it. So it's going to catch people's eye. But then two, you're going to get some legitimate things that are going to come across and you're going to be like, hey, thank you so much. And guess what happens? Connections begin then, right? Those network opportunities, you getting to know maybe the person that's messaging you or them giving you a person to open a door for a specific organization that maybe you've been trying to get to be a part of, right? So next time that this comes up or you hear someone, maybe pose the question to them. Hey, have you tried posting on social media? And they're going to be like, yeah, I already did on LinkedIn. Well, did you try Instagram or Pinterest or YouTube or anything like that? And look at their reaction. They're going to be like, oh man, why didn't I think of that? That's a great place for your brand, right? Step 4, and the very last one, and this one, in my opinion, is tough, right? You got to live the brand, right? We all know that living a brand, living an image, carrying this with you, sometimes is tough, right? I'll be the first person to tell you, living the brand for myself, some days is tough. I'm in the car a lot, right? I travel a lot. Just for me to getting to our office in Detroit, I drive over an hour, right? I'm one of those people that if I let you get in front of me, just wave to me, give me a heads up, a nod, something, right? Flash your lights just to say thank you because I didn't have to do it. Pet peeve of mine when people don't do that. I create this brand that may not be as positive as I want it to be. So I have to really think about it. If someone doesn't respond, sometimes I'll tell myself, just don't respond. Just act like you didn't even see it. We just let them out. They'll have a great day, right? But living the brand is tough because it's a way of saying that people are watching things that I do. And what I'm saying to you in this particular step is like, you don't have to be perfect, right? We all know that that's not possible. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have challenges. There's things you're going to have to overcome. But if you can do yourself a favor and make minimal, right? Deal with minimal changes, deal with minimal negativity, your brand will flourish, right? I'm sure, and I'm not going to ask for examples, but I'm sure you guys can think about examples of people that maybe tarnish their brand because of their actions and things that they saw or you saw them do or things that they lash out and say, right? It's their brand, but your brand can always be repaired and be fixed, right? Remember, step 2 is when you create that brand, the brand is all the actions. It's all the things that you do leading up to create this persona or this character or this vision of yourself, right? And it should be guided by your why. Now, I'm going to pause. We went through 4 steps on how to build the brand. I want to see if there's any questions in the chat. Oh, you guys like that? I'll tell people they're number 1 in a heartbeat. Emotional intelligence, self-control are important. Absolutely. Those are soft skills, 100%, Simon. Anyone have any questions or anything about building the brand? I told you this is pretty simple stuff, but stuff that I want you to think about, especially as you're looking for career opportunities. For those of you that are still out there, either looking for an internship, a full-time based opportunity, or looking to help someone else and give knowledge and pass knowledge along. What would be great things to post on social media, like designs you make, if you're a graphic designer? That could be a possibility, Natalie, but I would also just say, hey, call a spade a spade. Hey, I'm a designer. I'm looking for a possible graphic design based opportunity, either internship or full time. If you have any leads or any avenues or networking opportunities, please DM me directly. That'd be a great way. That way, you're only giving them a little bit, right? You're giving them the trailer, and then you can kind of give them more information as you connect, and they give you some responses. Hopefully that helps a little bit. How do you recommend defining and refining my personal brand if I'm not 100% sure what direction to take yet? I've spent 7 years working with a bachelor's degree, cybersecurity, graduate last year, sales. Oh. So, Mike, that's a great question. I think part of that is things that you're passionate about. You will find time to do them in your personal time. So some of those skill sets that you've created, right? Some of the cybersecurity things, even if it's doing something volunteer, at an organization that you know, just to keep your skills fresh. Another avenue would be, I'm going to go back to LinkedIn, right? Reaching out to individuals within LinkedIn, picking their brain on what it is that they do, how they got to some of the roles that they are, asking some of your friends and families and loved ones. That's another phenomenal avenue. And there's some information that we're going to cover to kind of help with that too as well here shortly. Can I showcase a step-by-step learning experience to become a data? You could, Austin, but I think giving that small trailer, like I just was explaining, to actually Mike, I think is probably a better avenue. I would cautious on social media, right? Putting your resume on social media, right? I think you want to give enough to where it sparks an interest, and then you can have more of a one-on-one or group type of conversation to explain those skills. Hopefully that helps. Do people still advertise themselves locally, like local posters? You know what? I think, Jordan, I would tell you, I think people do. I've been in some restaurants and things where people have different skill sets on a board, and you can pull off with a number or a name or an email address or point of contact to be able to talk to people about their skills. So everything, I would say everything is on the table when you're thinking about being resourceful and trying to promote yourself. It's about what puts you in the most positive light is one. And I think the second component of that would be not giving too much information, enough to where it draws people in, because you never know who the audience is that's reading the information that you're putting out there as well. So as we think about the next step, right? So we've talked about our organization. We went through like your brand and how to create that brand, and really kind of try to how to live that brand, understanding the why and trying to stay as positive in a positive light with that brand as possible. I think the next step would be as we dive into networking. And what does networking look like, right? So it's that gradual build. I'm going to give you a quick example of myself before we jump into the next slide. Since the time that I've graduated from college, I've had 2 positions. One I was at for 7.5 years, and the other one that I'm at currently right now, I've been here for 18. I got both of those 2 opportunities, not by showing a resume, not by going to a career fair, but I got those opportunities by really networking, kind of talking about my skill set, just being myself, talking to an individual. and that individual going, hey, I work for this organization. I'd love to interview you, right? That's how I got my first opportunity out of college. Met a person at a sporting event. We hit it off. He came back to my university the very next day. We sat down, we talked. I went up in shadow for the position and got it on the spot, right? Fast forward, I got laid off from that position after 6.5 years. They had some downsizing. There was about 50 of us. And I kind of freaked out. It's been a while since I'd been back on the market. And I was like, well, how did I get this position? It's all about who you know sometimes. It's about the Jimmies and Joes, right? So I reached back out to some individuals that I knew that were still in that HR, talent acquisition type of world. And I got a person to respond back. And we had a great conversation for about 35, 40 minutes. And got hired on the spot once more. Two opportunities based around the individuals that were in my circle, right? And I think that's a perfect segue into how you can use your brand to network yourself. This screen that you see, or this slide, is perfect by showing you the you in the middle, and then all these different outlets that all of us are probably a part of in some way, shape, or form. So we kind of talked about social media, the social media outlets, LinkedIn, career groups, community service-based things that you do. But then what about your friends and family, right? Letting them kind of know what your goals and aspirations. That can work in twofold. One, it gets them thinking about things for you, right? So it's another pair of eyes and ears that are out there. But then it also gives you an opportunity to practice talking about really the things that you're interested in looking for. And they can hold you accountable if they see you not continuously going after that why and making sure that that brand is the way it should be. Then you see work. So you see team member
Hey,
research.
Eric?
Yes.
So sorry to interrupt you. We've lost your presentation.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Let's see. Thank you for letting me know. I would have just kept talking.
Of course.
What about now?
Good to go.
Perfect. So jumping into that networking piece, talking about how you're in the middle and then these outlets are there to help you kind of display the brand, helps you network, and helps you open doors for yourself, right? We talked about social media. We talked about the personal outlets. We talked a little bit about work, right? So leaders, mentors, individuals that might be at school with you, right? Is the next category. Student orgs, sporting events, veteran groups that you're a part of, you name it. Get to know the people that are in these things with you. And the reason is because you might be able to help them, but ultimately they might be able to help you. You're already there. It's adding into your 24 hours time frame, right? That we talked about. Why not? You'd be surprised. I just gave you two examples of myself, two different opportunities that I've had. And I got both of those, not by what my resume looked like or going to a career fair or reaching out to career services. It was all about just building my own brand, talking about my skill set. And next thing you know, I was landed two opportunities and it worked for me. So networking is as tough as it is sometimes to get out of that comfort zone and challenge yourself, right? You have to do that. You have to. You don't want to kick yourself and go, I coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? That's one of those things that I would say I would never do, right? But make sure that you're putting yourself first so that you can take care of all the other things that you need to take care of, right? I'm going to pause. Is there any questions based off of this networking slide? And really from there, we can open it up to questions because that is my last slide, actually. For those of you that may have just joined after we started, the QR code that you see here, I'm actually going to put that link back into the chat as well. If you could click on that and fill that information out, I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll stop sharing. What questions do we have, if any? While we're thinking, or people are putting in their information in the chat, I'm going to put a couple different links into the chat for you that you might be able to utilize. One is going to be our careers page. So this is our Rocket career page I just put in there. Oh, I saw a question as we're doing this. What about for those who need to practice with social interaction or just come off a little strong? I think the word that you used in this question is so powerful, is practice, right? If you already know that maybe you come across abrasive, or you know people that come off abrasive, or you're shy and you're like, I don't want to get out of my comfort zone. You have to, right? You have to. The longer it takes you to get out of your comfort zone and to open up, you're going to start to see people that may have been on an equal playing field with you, same exact resume, same exact skill set. They may pass you at some point because they're open to that. Try your best to be as open as possible, especially when it comes to challenging yourself. It's not always going to be easy, I'll tell you that. But when you challenge yourself and you fail, you learn, and that's how you grow. How often should I evaluate and refresh my personal brand is to keep it aligned with my career goals? That's a great question. I think that's probably specific to the individual. I think it depends on whatever those aspirations or those goals are, especially if you see yourself starting to get off track and maybe those goals not being as pertinent or as in sight as they used to be. It might be time to sit down and reevaluate, either reevaluate your why or reevaluate how you get back on track to achieving those goals. Great question. I'm going to put a couple other things in here as well, really quickly. Then I'll get out of you guys' hair for the day. Information about our organization and our company. And then I'm also going to put my LinkedIn in the chat too as well, for those of you that like to have a one-on-one conversation, or if there's anything I can help you with, to connect with me.
Thank you for doing
And with that, I'll leave it for one more minute to see if there's any other questions. If not, we'll let you guys go for the day.
While we wait, I am also going to add in the chat. We just redid our website for careers, our career and professional development. So we do have a whole website on personal branding. So there's some more resources in there if you wanted to look around. I also would like to say too, going back to that question about practice, we do have career advisors available who are happy to meet with you one-on-one. It's a pretty safe space where you can meet with someone who is not going to judge you, is not right, doesn't know much about you, but they'll be able to have some of those conversations, whether it's about personal branding or networking or how to have some of those conversations. It's a good starting point before maybe you go out and tap strangers for that. So it's also on our website. Just hit that request appointment button and you can schedule that anytime.
Perfect. I'll say thank you to everybody putting things in the chat. Hopefully that there was a one or two nuggets that you pulled out from the presentation. And last but not least, thank you guys for having us. Thank you for having me present to you today too as well.
I would say thank you, Eric. This is always such a good refresher. I think somebody said that too, like a good aha moment and a good reminder. So really, really appreciate your time today. I did, as I mentioned in the beginning, I said we had a little survey for our team. So I just put that in the chat as well. It's 2 questions, but I will follow up via email again. So please take a moment to fill that out. And then I think that is all that we have for today. So I'm going to hang out here for a minute, but if anyone has any questions or anything like that, but otherwise, thank you all for joining us today for this afternoon or morning, depending on where you're at. And again, thank you, Eric, for this awesome workshop. So
appreciate it. Thank you guys. Have a good day.
Okay.